Good day, welcome to the Automotive Dad, and welcome to this, the 2024 Isuzu D Max. Now, the D Max has been around for years and years and years, and this is my final look at the current generation Isuzu D Max because I'm looking at the new one in January. This one's powered by a 1.9 litre four-cylinder diesel engine, 164 PS, 360 newton meters of torque, and about 62 miles an hour in 13 seconds in this Auto DL40. The thing is that the Isuzu D Max kind of gets overlooked when people think about things like the Amarok and the Ranger, but this is around about £10,000 cheaper. You'll also find these popping up in agricultural and farming situations all over, especially in the UK. People absolutely love these, and these are absolute workhorses because they can tow 3.5 tonne, they can take a tonne of payload weight, and because they don't weigh over that certain threshold, they can also do 70 on a national speed limit dual carriageway. So join me as I find out a bit more about the Isuzu D Max DL40 in this case, and find out just how it suits family life, because these are incredibly popular do-everything vehicles. So aesthetically, the front end of the Isuzu D Max, it had a big change from that previous generation to what it currently is. It's shapely, contoured, yet quite sharp, and is really definitively a D Max design. You can see where the heritage of the D Max has kind of come through. I really like it. I like the design of these lights. I like how bright these lights are, and the fog light design, the whole front end just looks cool. Now, when it look at the grille, look at this grille, you'll see that there's a little grey indent on here. And that's kind of the definitive, oh, look at me, I'm a DL40. Because if you look at something like a V-Cross, it just kind of looks like it's got a black pack on it. And really, that's the definitive detail, besides some other bits like running boards and alloys and stuff, which make the big difference between the different models and trim, is just from that front end point of view, that's it. But I think the front end of this looks really cool. It's a really, really nice design. Now, finished in onyx black mica, this is a long vehicle, which is why this side profile looks quite gargantuous, because it is quite a long vehicle. In actual terms, on my driveway, this is like a good half a foot longer than an Amarok. So my neighbours were loving me for that. Now, 18-inch diamond cut alloys look really lovely. Such a great design, but for off-roading, a little bit impractical. Steel wheels would definitely serve you better. The running board, lovely design. It's just nicely cut in. And the one thing I will say is this press vehicle is coming towards the end of its life. It's got coming up on 20,000 miles on it, and it's had a lot of journalists and abuse. And you can see on the running boards where the rubber's starting to wear out. But the thing is, in 2 years of life-ish of running with journalists, these get like a literal lifetime of abuse. So for that to only be failing there and no other point is really impressive. The whole rest of this vehicle, it's long, it's gargantuous, and it's lovely. There's a little bit of styling. There's not too much information going on there. That alpha top on the back, nice option to put on there. Big question mark on how much that costs, because I couldn't actually find out the official cost of that option. But the whole side profile, it is pretty reasonable. It looks quite nice, and in this onyx black mica, looks a little bit gangster. If this had all black steel wheels with a heavy black tint on the back and was completely blacked out, this would be about as gangster as you can get. Rear aesthetics wise, D Max does a pretty good job. There's enough information back here to make this not just a boring slab of metal. Some manufacturers do just give you a boring slab of metal, but Isuzu have kind of made it a bit more interesting, kind of cut-ins into it. Looks cool. These rear tail lights look absolutely awesome. The bumper design's really cool, and with this locking rear cab, it kind of brings the whole back end together, makes it look like a big estate car or a hearse, your decision which there. But the whole back end of this, for me, just looks really cool. Inside the D Max is where you start to spot the price difference, because honestly, the exterior, you don't notice it. The inside is the only place where you start to spot a little bit of the price difference, and not because it's not comfortable. This is a really comfortable place to be, but that some of the materials are just a bit more hard-wearing and less luxurious. But that said, I would say this interior is more practical, because you've got random pull-out cup holders, loads of space, more headroom than some of the competitors. And honestly, this interior drive position is just really, really good. It's just that there's less leather or leather look. In this DL40, it says leather with an asterisk and other material seats. These are really comfortable. You've got actual buttons. You do have a smaller infotainment screen in the DL40 versus a V-Cross. V-Cross does get the bigger infotainment, but you still get wireless Apple CarPlay, a really reasonable audio system. It's just really quite impressive. And from a front passenger point of view, it's just actually quite a nice place to be. Let's talk the kids zone, because finally manufacturers across the board are getting the point that pickup trucks are boring in the back and they didn't give you space. Well, that's everyone except Toyota, because this does have a huge amount of legroom. So much legroom that I have no issue getting two Isofix 360 seats in the back, and I literally, in reverse seating position for this red one here, there is literally bundles of space. And obviously the truck's wide enough that you can have them both in getting the kids out position without them bashing into each other. There are also USB sockets back here, vents, all sorts of little cubby holes. And it's like they've actually thought, you know what, people are going in the back. There's still a good amount of headroom. The visibility is really nice for them out the back. Honestly, it's so lovely to see, because these are used as family vehicles across the board, that finally people aren't kind of being pushed into the back. They can actually be used as practical, versatile family vehicles without having to awkwardly get your kids in and out every day if you use it as a family vehicle. So in this regards, massive pass. Now let's talk rear space, rear capability. With this Alpha Top, this is an incredibly capable vehicle with a huge amount of space. Because in reality, this is a vehicle that can take a ton of payload weight. There's loads of capability back here. But actually, from a family point of view, a surprisingly minimal amount of tie-down points. So therefore, tying things like a pram down was actually quite difficult. It's doable, there are tie-down points, but I just wish there were more. But aside from that, this has loads of space. If you've got stinky kids' clothes that you don't want in the cab with you, you can stick them back here, open some of the vents, and A, it doesn't stink this out, and B, you don't have to deal with it either. It's actually seriously impressive. And it's nice that, and I'm going to put this in comparison to the Amarok that I recently had, a £55,000 vehicle didn't have a strut brace on it to stop it from smacking down, or whatever you call it, effectively the suspension arm on the door, so that, yeah, it slammed down. And if your kids were there, you could smack them in the face. Unlikely, but it could happen. Whereas this is a over £10,000 cheaper vehicle, and it doesn't do it. So the rear capability, massively impressive. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. This is a great, great truck. Now let's talk driving dynamics, because so often pickup trucks can be totally boring and unengaging, but the D Max isn't. It is actually a bit of fun. Big thing to note, this is 164 PS. Isuzu dealers can up these to about 200 horsepower, so if you're used to that bit more grunt, that's what you're going to need to do. But 360 Newton meters, so more than enough torque to get you about. And the auto box in this is lovely and smooth. The engine's a little bit more noisy than you would get in luxury competitors, but generally the drive of this is really nice. The steering actually has some input. Going over bumps can be a little bit crashy at times, but remember, it's got a ton of payload weight potential in the back. With that done, it's not going to be crashy in the slightest. It can tow 3.5 ton, and it does it really comfortably by all recollection of the people that I've asked. Of all the people that I know that run D Maxes, they absolutely love them above any of the competitors because of how practical, capable and useful they are in every single way. Now, economy wise, they say you can get up to 40 miles to the gallon. I don't necessarily believe 40, but I think very realistically you're going to get 37 at absolute best. But then at absolute worst, I don't think you're going to see any worse than 32. That's driving with weight, with your foot down constantly. This seems to be a vehicle which will just get good fuel economy. The brakes have a good feel. The throttle's quite responsive, and the visibility, genuinely from the driver's seat, is absolutely fantastic. The reverse camera on here means that lining up to stuff's really easy, and it's just a really effortless vehicle to drive. Okay, yeah, there are faster vehicles out there that might give you a more sporting drive, but they're also considerably more money. The drive in this vehicle, for the money that it costs, is more than acceptable, and everything is at your fingertips. You do have things like, effectively, self-drive within lane on the motorway. You have got adaptive speed limiter, adaptive cruise control. Everything is here. And actually, when you think about it, everything is a button in this vehicle. Nothing is really hidden away, except Apple CarPlay. That's not the end of the world. So is the D Max a good family vehicle? Basically, yes. The I-size ISOFIX in the back is easy to get your seats in and out of, and there's loads of legroom and rear capability. So from that, it's a tick box, and further tick boxes. It's also not obscenely high. Your kids can actually kind of attempt to get in and out if they're at that kind of 3 to 4 age without breaking their neck. And from that utility point of view, I've spoken to quite a few owners, and the overwhelming thing that they are all saying is that, yeah, they've had Hiluxes and Amaroks and Rangers in the past, but the D Max for them was better because it offered them everything in one guise for less money, like around £10,000 cheaper on the road. Aesthetically, this looks cool. The interior is nice, and the only place it does get a little bit let down are some of the interior plastics, but it's not that bad. Low capability, ton of payload weight, can tow 3.5 ton, and the drive is fun, semi-engaging, not like totally disconnected, but equally not a sport truck. And it's just really reasonable to drive. Yes, if you want more than 164 PS, then you have to have it remapped. It goes up to about 200. And 360 Newton meters is enough to pull stuff along. We're not talking electric fast, but it does a really good and honest job. And that is exactly what this truck is. It's honest. It's not trying to be something it's not. It's just a very honest and trustworthy truck. Now, the 2025 D Max, if you want to see some stuff on that, make sure you like and subscribe this video, because I'm going to be covering that end of January. If you want to see anything about that, it's going to be on my channel. If you've got questions that you want me to answer in that video, leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you next week for, I don't know what it is, I can't remember. See you then.